Hi Year 10, this is your feedback for the evaluation question. Thank you to those who got it into me. I've used screenshots of your work to produce this PowerPoint. If you don't see your work on here, please don't be offended. I have read everybody's. There was just only so many I could put onto a PowerPoint without boring you all. Just a reminder that this was the question: what are your thoughts and feelings on the Agora School? And I did give you in the video 2 sentences to start you off, so that these were those 2 sentences. So some of you have already guaranteed 2 marks by including those, but some of you did challenge yourself and didn't use those, so well done for that. Okay, so can you in your yellow book please, no, pink book, apologies, apart from Isaac, whose book I have with me, so just do it on paper. Can you write the title Evaluation Feedback in green pen if you've got one, and then can you all jot down these what went wells for me now, please? So really impressed with the use of the sentence structure. There was nobody who handed in the work who wasn't using it, so that's fantastic. You were being really concise and brief, some more than others, so do think about that when you're doing your own reflection later on. And you were really selecting relevant quotations, which was really good. I just wanted to screenshot this one for you. It's a really good example of concision. There are just no wasted words. I really like this first sentence. Agora seems quite fun. It says, I feel or I think Agora seems quite fun when the writer describes it as a junk playground. Brilliant. I like Agora better. I think Agora better prepares its students for life after education by throwing them all together. And quotation, just really nice and precise. And if you read it, the rest of it, it has got repetitive sentence structures, but it works and it reads like a really good language answer. So that's just there for you to have a look at. Again, this was a really nice, concise argument and point. Louis used this as well, but I just saw this one first, Louis, sorry. But well done, you've got this as well, almost word for word. I feel the students are grateful for the school they have when the writer quotes Brent, saying, I want to give back to the school for everything it's done for me. I think that is really well pinned with the word grateful. You know, if someone wants to give back to someone because they've done so much for them, they're obviously really grateful and appreciative of the school. So that's a really nice pinned inference. So well done. I also thought this was really good. This student, who might it be, actually numbered her points in the margin, so she was able to kind of keep track of how many she'd done, which was really good. You don't have to do that, but I just think it's good practice. Sorry, I've moved my slides around. There's your title. In terms of EBIs then, sorry, I know I'm going quite fast. Make sure you pause to write down each what went well. Can you make sure that you're staying focused on the question? I know I say this quite a lot. You know, the question asks you for your thoughts and feelings about this school, and some of you have got points that are completely about other schools, typical schools. Now, I think I might have not helped in that with my example, talking about how it's different to normal schools, but the key is to stay focused on Agora School, even if you briefly mention other schools in comparison. So this one is a really good example because it just wins it back at the end. The analogy of the caged chickens at Battery Farms makes me feel sorry for people in regular schools. If the student had stopped there, it would not have got a mark because that's nothing to do with Agora School. However, I think that Agora has a better work ethic for students that secures the mark because it's actually focused on the question. So quite a few of you have got at least one point that you've made that are about other schools. So make sure when you're looking at yours, you write an EBI next to that and you don't tick that bit. Okay, EBIs continued. Make sure you read to the end of the text. There were some less attractive elements about the school, or at least, so you know, there was the idea that they were restricted. So if you look at the bottom picture, you know, it says here if they don't meet standardized testing criteria, so that equivalent for us would be GCSEs, then the school won't pass the inspection and it won't get government funding. So you know, the writer says that it puts the brakes on initiatives like Agora. It stops the school from, you know, completely being free in the way that it manages the students, and it doesn't, you know, like they've got all that freedom, haven't they, to learn what they want, and they have their own pathways. But at the end of the day, the students also need to pass the equivalent of GCSE. So think of how actually that must really restrict them. So that was kind of like the band 5 point, the point where, you know, the evaluative point, the subtle one that you would have had to tease out and really read it closely to see, to get those final 2 marks that, well, it was only out of 8, wasn't it? But so, you know, that's 7/8. Now, the student at the top was the only student to mention this quotation, so absolutely fantastic, well done. But they have scribbled out the inference and didn't go back to it, so I couldn't award the point, but I just want to say well done because you've actually included it, so well done. You found it. So do make sure you read to the end of the text and do consider, you know, is there another side to it? Make sure as well, it's a similar EBI again to what I've given you in the past. Focus on the question, read the whole text, pin your inferences. So this one is an example that we could improve. So the writer uses the adjective improvised desks to imply that the Agora school isn't like a normal school. Yes, but really pin down improvised and that idea that, you know, there's freedom there, there's a lack of control, there's a lack of order. And that would have helped you to get the tick there. Okay, I'm going to go through this one, and I haven't ticked it up, but I've labelled it for you, and I want you to do the same in your, for your work in a second. So the first 2 sentences for this response were the ones that I gave in the PowerPoint in the video, so I've not included those. So we're going to look at it sentence by sentence. So next, the writer makes me think Agora School is more useful and permissive. Yes. When the writer uses, and then sorry, I can't see that quotation because my time is over the top of it, what he wanted. So that's a really nice tick. We've got two inferences. Permissive is the best one, and it's securely linked to the quotation, and we're using the sentence structure. The next one, as the anecdotes continue, really like the method of anecdotes because he does need, the writer keeps quoting specific students. I feel that the school allows students to be expressive, inference, and that should be uninhibited, another inference. When the writer uses, every student has a story to emphasize the acceptance of their differences. Now, I do think you need that last bit to make that quotation relevant to those inferences, so that's just a tick. I think every student has a story doesn't suggest that they are uninhibited, although it does suggest that they're allowed to be expressive. So the next one, the writer makes me realise that the school helps others to learn from each other. Great, good inference and a clear personal response. Despite the different levels of ability, when he uses one of the pupils' opinions, that is a method, just saying that he uses one of the pupils' opinions as a method. Vocational students say things that make much more sense than honours kids quotation. Okay, and that's a really important point, isn't it? That this school values every student from every background. I feel that the school allows the students to find a rhythm in their work and achieve their full ability. Yes. However, I don't know if it's because I just couldn't read the quotation fully, but I couldn't check the quotation whether it fit there. In most schools, when a student finds a flow, is it the bearings? I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if that's a tick or not. I'm not sure about the quotation. It's definitely a tick in brackets though, because there's definitely evidence that they find their own rhythm and they do help them to meet their full ability. Next one. The phrase personal goals makes me think that the school is focused on putting the kids first and helping them to reach their individual ambitions. I actually should have put the inference over individual ambitions there. That would have been more useful and definitely a tick. Towards the end, the writer effectively makes me feel that the coaches in Agora are the most important part of the school for assisting the pupils. I've put an inference over important, however, I should have put an M over verbs as well. Sorry, I'm using M for method mark for terminology. I think we might usually use T. So I'm sorry, M equals T, official formula. Sorry, just to go back to that. So the idea that the coaches are the most important part of the school, I've put an I over it because that is justifiable. However, I'm not sure the quotation is really pinned by that comment. So when he uses the verbs nurture and challenge, encourage and guide, they are verbs, so well done, because that's quite hard to label. To nurture, to challenge, brilliant. But does the idea that they're important really pin those 4 words? You know, could you maybe pin it as the idea that they are mentors, or that, I mean, are they called mentors anyway? Coaches. You know, this, but yeah, mentors would work then, because it's not the word coaches. But that idea that, you know, they're not traditional teachers and they're more thinking about, you know, guiding the student and nurturing, but don't say nurturing, would have pinned it down a little bit more. So I wouldn't tick that one. Finally, the writer uses an analogy, brilliant method, about caged chickens, which makes me think that despite the incredibly different approach to learning, the school's approach is ultimately the most useful and helpful, especially for cultivating curiosity. I hope you can see that that's an insecure link. The quotation there, caged chickens, doesn't really link to the idea of cultivating curiosity, because what you're saying about the school there is that they cultivate curiosity, which is absolutely correct. But there must be a better quotation for that, because the caged chickens was actually about other schools, wasn't it? So I wouldn't give a tick for that one either. Now, silly me forgot that it's out of 8 and not 10. So I've said I would give it 7 or 8 out of 10. So because it's only out of 8, I would give it 6 out of 8. If you look back, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quotations, including the next slide, but we've also got a really good range of method marks there, which would help it tip into the 6 out of 8. Like I said before, if it had had that idea about the school being restricted, that would have maybe tipped it over, but also maybe just these last 2 points, if you'd have managed to secure a tick for those, it could have made its way to full marks. So this is a really good one to learn from. It's got a really good range of points, really precise, really focused, but then just a couple of EBIs that you can look out for in your own work as well. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now, and this is all I'm going to ask you to do today, because, oh, sorry, I'm going to ask you to do a quiz. Ignore that. Sorry, that's how close you came. You're going to go through your own response that should be in your pink book. If it's not, you make sure you keep it safe to glue it in, because it does need to be in there. You're going to go through your own response and you're going to annotate it in the same way using Q&I. You can use T instead of M if you want to. You're going to give yourself a mark out of 8, not 10. And you're going to remember, you're going to remember to check you're focused on the school, and make sure you pin your inferences, and just look out for anywhere you've been a bit waffly, and then give yourself an EBI. Like I said, I've looked over everybody's that I received, so if you are struggling, just send me a message and I'll tell you what I thought. But hopefully this video will be enough to guide you, and we will pick up next week with some different styles of questions. Okay, if you feel like, can you just keep talking to me if you feel like you really want to do this again with another text and consolidate your skills, just let me know. Okay, have a lovely weekend, guys. Bye.